Hey guys, welcome back. This is Bernard from the BTNHD, and today we are dealing with MDT 2013 Update 1 and Windows 10. Now this video is an awesome one. Hopefully it's an awesome one. It's dealing with building a reference image. Yes, it's really a huge topic. So before I started doing this video, I started testing in my environment to make sure everything is working the way it is, because I don't want to give you guys any false advertisement. You know, it works great, but I had like a couple thousand issues, and then you guys are having 1,000 issues because, you know, I started editing the video for it to look smooth. Okay, so I started testing it out, and I had a lot of problems because, one, my deployment pushed out the operating system, but it kept on failing during the process of capturing it. And this is the problem that I had right here. Okay, it kept on saying unable to find the siprep.inf image deployment may not be automated, failure 6101. I looked this up. I started doing all the troubleshooting, and it was still continue failing. Now, the way that I got it to work with no problem is you have to do a couple of things. One, I had to destroy my deployment share and recreate it again. Okay, before doing that, you guys need to replace a couple of files. Now, there is a MDT update for Windows 10 Technical Preview build. Now this is old, don't get me wrong, this is pretty old, but the files that you need to replace, which is the LTI siprep, the ZTI gather, the ZTI prerequisites, the ZTI utilities, all these files you need to replace the current deployment files that you have already in your machine for this to work. Also, you also need to replace a client.xml file as well as a state restore.xml file. Now that's what I did. Okay, you had to update those files to the latest and greatest one. Now the reason why is because these files will fix the problem that I was having with the siprep. Now the other problem that I was having is that during my deployment time, when the operating system was pushing out, it was still talking outside. It was trying to connect to the Microsoft servers. So when you guys are building your reference image on a Windows 10 build, you got to make sure that your reference image is not allowed to talk outside of your LAN or your WAM or whatever. Make sure you create a private network that your MDT server is only able to connect to your reference image. Those are the only two machines that should be talking to each other. Your MDT server should not talk outside of your network, and your reference image should not talk outside. Now, I'm doing everything in a virtual environment with VM Workstation, so I created a private network which allows me to only talk within the virtual machine environment. It's not talking outside of the host. It's not going online. Okay, so that was the other thing. So let's get inside my MDT deployment. And again, I'm going to place all these files in the description. I'm going to try to zip everything together so you guys can follow along and, you know, see if this could work on your environment. So let's go inside the C drive, and I want to show you guys some of the replacements that I did. I went to Programs and Files, Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, and the first one that we needed to do is Templates. Now within Templates, we needed to replace the XML, client.xml. As you can see, I just renamed it to .old. And we also needed to replace the state restore. So this is the original one that came with the installation, and this is the one that I replaced it with. Now, the other folder that you guys needed to go into to replace stuff would be, again, Templates, and you want to go into Distribution. Now, this folder, all these folders, when you first create your MDT deployment share, this right here is the template. It grabs all this here. So you want to get into, I believe, scripts, and within scripts, again, as you can see, I just renamed .old and I replaced it with the new stuff. Now it's time to go inside your deployment workbench, right click on the node and create a new deployment share, give it a name. Hopefully you guys understand that concept. If not, I have videos that I've done in the past how to create a deployment share. Also, the links should be at the bottom of the description. So once I got that up and running, so far so good. The next problem was on my, when I was testing everything out, I had the old build. I had a very old Windows 10 build. So make sure that you guys have the latest and greatest Windows 10 build, because if not, what's going to happen is it's going to deploy with no problem, but during the deployment time when it's installing Windows updates or the applications, you're going to get a nasty little prompt saying your build is old and we need to restart. So it's going to constantly do that, and your deployment will never finish. So make sure you guys have the latest and greatest operating system build from Windows 10. Now, the next thing that I did is I created a folder within my application node, called it Microsoft, and I wanted to push out a bunch of Microsoft Visual C++. Now I'm pushing everything from 2005, 2008, 2010, 12, 13, 15. They're both 86 and 64-bit. Okay, and I'm doing a command line of C script and the Visual Basic script. Now this Visual Basic script, I got it from a third-party individual, which he's awesome. He's a deployment guru, which I'm also learning from him. And I'm going to show you guys the source files. So I'm going to go right here, and again, I'm going to be placing this stuff at the bottom of the video, at the description, so you guys can get a copy. So hopefully you guys understand the concept of importing an application. But I imported this particular folder within my deployment. Now within each individual Visual C++ folder, I have a folder and I have the file. The folder contains the two exe files, the 64-bit and the 86-bit. And outside the source file, we have our VB script. Now if I do edit and review, as you can see, big shout outs for Johan. Johan is the one that created the script. So within his script, what he does, he locates the source file, and within the source file, whatever's inside the source file, he installs it. So basically, if you're deploying a 64-bit Windows 10 operating system, it's only going to install the 64-bit Visual C++ application. So that's awesome. So within my application node, I just right-click, new application. It's going to be application with source files because that's what you have. You give it a name, really is up to you. Click on next. The source directory is going to be wherever you drop those files in. So let's do a real quick. So go shared. I have here, and this is the source. So once you browse to this, what's going to happen is going to pull everything inside this folder. It's going to pull the source folder and those two files that I had, and as well as that script file. So click OK, press next. Destination, you can rename it if you want. Click next, give it the command. The command is basically going to be C script and the name of the Visual script file. And then once you do that, you click on next, gives you a nice little summary, and just finish it off. I'm not going to do that because I already done it. You got to do it about 6 times. Again, you really don't need to push out the Visual C++. I'm doing it because I read an article from Johan's website that it's best to push out the Microsoft Visual C++ application within your reference image. So I said, why not? Let me try it out. So once you do that, you want to go inside your task sequence node. Now within my task sequence node, as you know, if you've been following me for the very beginning, I love creating folders just to keep myself organized. So within my task sequence, node, I created a folder called Windows 10 64 TS. TS means task sequence. Now within my task sequence, I created a task sequence called Windows 10 Enterprise x64 reference TS. Reference ID is ref Windows 10 64001. Okay, and again, if you guys don't know how to create a task sequence, you just right click, go to new task sequence, you give it an ID, you give it a name, click on next. This because we're doing a reference image, you would think I'm going to pick a SIP prep and capture. I'm not. I want to do a standard client and task sequence. Just hold on, because we need to modify our task sequence as well as our custom settings.ini file to do the SIP prep and capture stuff. So that's when the whole automation thing happens. So within this task sequence, I did a standard client task sequence, and I clicked on next. You want to pick your operating system. From here, I did not specify a key. Click on next. From here, I just gave it an organization. I didn't give Internet Explorer homepage or full name. Click next. From here, normally in my videos I do provide administrative password, but because this is a reference image, I'm not going to provide a password within the task sequence. Then you click on next, got a nice little summary, and just complete it. Now, once you complete your creating a task sequence, you need to double click inside of it, and we need to do some modifications with it. So let's go inside the task sequence node. Now within the task sequence node, within the state restore node, and right after the tattoo attribute, I created a group called custom tasks, and I gave it pre-Windows updates. Now to create a custom group, you just basically click on add and just new group, and then you name it. Within the group, I actually went to add roles, and I did install roles and feature. And make sure you pick the correct operating system. For me, it was Windows 10 because that's where we're trying to push out and also capture. And I'm only pushing out the .NET Framework 3.5, which includes 2.0 and 2.3 .NET applications. After that, this is where I started going into Add, General, and Install an application. And I started telling the task sequence that I want to push out my applications. The reason that I did this is because I am skipping the portion of the deployment where it gives you a nice little dialog box and it tells you which applications you want to pick. I want to skip that. I want to automate this. I want to actually have the installation files or the applications install automatically during the deployment time. I don't want to pick that stuff. So again, I placed the install files the way that I wanted to install during the deployment time. After that, I wanted to do a restart, so I just click on Add, General, and within General, you just do a Restart Computer attribute. The next thing that I did within my task sequence is I enable my Windows updates, my pre and my post. Again, within my task sequence, within my deployment, I'm going to be grabbing my Windows updates not from the Microsoft server, not outside from the internet. I want that stuff to be done in-house within my WSUS server. So that means my custom settings.ini file, I need to make modifications. Don't worry about it. I'm going to be going over that pretty soon. Next thing that I did was I just changed the custom task folder to post updates. You probably have, maybe you could, if you want to push out Office or you want to push out Adobe Reader, you could just add them into your post. Again, you're trying to automate this in the point that you don't have to touch it at all. Once you do all those modifications, click OK. Okay, that's half the battle. Now let's go inside your main deployment share and right click on it and just go to properties. Within properties, you guys want to go to rules. As you can see, I made a lot of customizations this time within my custom settings.ini file. But before we can tackle this, I want to go inside my bootstrap.ini. Because the reason, again, I want to automate this in the point that I don't have to touch it as much. If you guys have been tuning in with a lot of my MDT videos, when I start the deployment, what do I have to do first? I have to enter my username, my password, and my domain to initiate the deployment connection between the virtual machine or the physical machine to my MDT server so it can start the process. And also there's a welcome thing that I have to skip and all that good stuff. So I did a little smart thing and I just added all that stuff already. So when my deployment time happens, it already initiates the connection. I don't have to enter none of that information. So within your bootstrap.ini file, you make sure your deployment root is assigned to the deployment share. Your user domain is assigned to your domain controller name. You give it the user ID will be an account that has full access to your MDT server. Make sure that you use an account that has full access to your deployment share. Okay. Provide the password, and because I'm skipping the BDD welcome screen, I hit yes. Make sure you go to File, Save, and then good to go. Now the next thing, I made a lot of modifications within the custom settings.ini file. First thing that I did is I customized the dialog box to say BTNHD because I used the SMS task sequence organization name, and you can assign anything to it. It's up to you. Now I'm using the attribute of user data location to none. I do want to capture this. I do want to install the operating system. I'm assigning the local admin password to whatever. Again, I bypassed that during the task sequence initiation. So I'm actually assigning the password, the administrative password within the custom settings.ini file. I'm setting my time zone, which you could also do within the unintended within the operating system, but I'm doing it here. I'm not joining a work group because, again, when you're creating a reference image, you do not want your image to be part of a domain. You want it to be outside of that. I'm hiding the shell. My final action, once everything's done, the machine is going to shut down. Do not create an extra partition. This is awesome because if you have been pushing out deployments and you go into the computer management, you see like an extra little partition that's attached to your C drive that says like something about BBD partition or something like that. If you don't want that little thing, which is about 300 megabytes, you could just add this attribute and it won't add it. I'm telling my reference image that to grab the updates within here, my WSUS server. I'm not applying any GPO pack, so I hit no. And from here, I am skipping the admin password because I already assigned it. I am skipping the product key because most likely I have a KMS, a key management service inside my infrastructure. I am skipping the computer name. I'm skipping the domain membership because I already told it to join the work group. I'm skipping the user data. I'm skipping the locale selection, the task sequence. I'm not skipping the task sequence. You could skip the task sequence, but for now I'm not gonna skip it. I am skipping the time zone because I already told it to use Eastern Standard Time. I am skipping the applications because, as you saw within the task sequence, I created a customized group, and I told it what applications I wanted to install. I am skipping BitLocker because I'm not doing that right now. I'm skipping the summary. I'm skipping the roles. Skip roles if you're dealing with MDT and database, so I'm skipping that. And I'm not skipping the capture because I want to tell the capture where I want my custom WIM image to be dropped into. And I am skipping the final summary. So once you do all that stuff, you press OK. You right click on your deployment and you update your deployment share. So I'm going to update it right now. So let that update. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside my host. I'm going to go inside my D drive, go to VMs. I'm going to create a new folder called bj-temp. Got nothing in it. I'm going to make sure I copy this path. I'm going to close that. Update the deployment share is done, so we're going to hit finish on that. And if you've been tuning in with all my MDT stuff, I love pushing out my images during Pixie. And that's not because of virtual machine environment. I do Pixie booting even on a physical environment because it's so easy, especially if you have a high bandwidth of your LAN. It's great. So I'm going to go to my WDS. I'm just going to replace my boot images. So I don't know. I can't really tell you this is best practice. This is just something that I like to do. It's one of those bad habits of mine. So I'm just going to update this stuff. I'm going to go to my virtual, I'm going to go to my VM workstation. I'm going to go to File, New Virtual Machine. I'm going to do Next. I haven't updated my workstation, so I'm going to pick Windows 8 64 because it's the same thing as Windows 10. I'm going to click on Next. I'm going to give our virtual machine a name. I'm going to drop it inside that path that we created. I'm going to give it only 25 gigs because make it 20. It's pretty good. Hit Next, Finish. Good, awesome. So let's go back inside our MDT server. Hit Finish. Let's replace our last boot image, which is the 64-bit one. I'm going to replace that. Again, I don't even know why I do this. I don't think you need to do this at all, but I like doing it just to make sure my Windows deployment services is working properly and it has the latest and greatest boot images. Okay. Once that modification is there, once it updates, come on, update. Awesome. So once it updates, hit Finish. I normally like to do is right click on the WDS node, go to All Tasks, and just restart the services. This will give me like a final okay, everything is working, no problem. If not, that means I have to troubleshoot it before the deployment stuff works. So let's click OK on that. We're gonna go inside our virtual machine that we created, and we are going to start our virtual machine. I'm going to click F12 like a madman. There it goes, F12. There it goes. Now I am pushing out a 64-bit operating system, so make sure you pick your boot image. So I'm going to click OK. Okay. So a couple of things, guys. You got to make sure that your reference image is not or does not have internet access. It's within a private network that can only communicate with your MDT server. Also, you got to make sure that you replace that client.xml file as well as that state restore file, and you also got to replace those 4 Visual Basic scripts within your script folder to make this stuff work the way you want it to work. Alright, so it looks like the deployment time is starting. Normally, if you guys have been tuning in with my MDT videos, you would notice like a little welcome, and I have to click on it, and then another box come up to enter the username and the password and the domain controller. That has not popped up yet, and the reason why is because I customized my bootstrap.ini file. It's already processing, it's already communicating with the deployment share, it's already doing that stuff. So the only thing that should pop up is to pick the task sequence, and also pick where I want to drop the custom WIM image. Awesome. So as you can see, task sequence is up and running. I'm going to just close this little box out of here. I'm going to pick our Windows 10 Enterprise 64 reference task sequence, which is basically this right here. Let's go inside our workbench. I'm picking this right here. Awesome. Is the same name. Same name. We're going to click on next. And the next thing that we have is our capture image. Again, those are the only two things that I did not skip during my custom settings.ini file. So once I customize this, it's going to go straight to the deployment. So from here, I'm not going to drop it inside my C drive. This is where it drops it. It goes to C drive, it goes to your deployment share, and it goes to captures. I don't want to drop it in there because I always have the fear that I don't have enough space on my C drive. And there's a possibility if the WIM image that, or your reference image or your golden image is too huge or too big and it starts dropping in your C drive, that means your MDT server is probably going to have some performance issues. So I created a partition with D drive, and I created a folder called capture, and I shared capture out to everyone. It has full access. Okay, so this is where I'm going to drop that capture image. So I'm going to go inside our virtual machine, and I'm just going to remove deployment share, because it's going to be bj-mdt capture. There we go. And this is going to be the name of it. I do want to capture. Hit next. And right now it's processing. It's doing this thing within the task sequence. So it's going to each step of the task sequence. Right now it's partitioning it, reformatting it. Once that's done, it's going to start pushing out the operating system. And once the operating system is pushed out, it's going to reboot itself, go inside the desktop. Once it's inside the desktop, it's going to start installing our group right here, this little guy right here. It's going to start doing this portion right here, and then it's going to restart. It's going to start talking to our Windows updates, and then if everything goes well, hopefully, knock on wood, it should start the SIP prep, restart itself, start capturing, and then within this location right here, within our D drive, we should see that WIM image appear. Alright guys, so it looks like the operating system was pushed out. We are at the point of running our custom task group that we created right here. It's installing the roles and features. Again, you don't really need to do that, but I'm doing it for my deployment. And once that's completed, it's going to start running its course and installing the Visual C++ 2005, 2008, 2010. And once all that's done, it's going to restart. Once it restarts, it's going to try to go inside my custom or my local WSUS server, pull whatever Windows 10 updates that I approved to the machine. I don't have any installed applications, so that's great because I did it on this node right here. And I don't have any custom post Windows updates. You could probably add like your Office or Acrobat Professional or Acrobat Reader into this node. And once that's complete, it's going to go inside the imaging part and start preparing it, copying all the SIP prep files, and it's going to start adding and executing the SIP prep, and it's going to start capturing our reference image and creating a WIM image out of it. So I'm pretty excited. Let's go back inside our machine and see where we are at. And as you can see, it's still doing the install roles and features. Alright guys, so it looks like my installation of the applications is completed. It is now talking to my WSUS server and searching for any updates that have been approved. I don't really have too many updates, so this should go pretty fast. So far we have done this portion right here. It did the restart. It's right now doing the post application installation. It bypassed the install application because again I skipped that within the custom settings.ini file because I wanted to customize the installation of the files within my task sequence, so I did it that way. It's still searching for more updates. It's at the pre-application, so it's actually right here. If it finds something, it grabs it and install it. If it doesn't, it's gonna go inside the install, then the post, and then the custom tasks, and then it's gonna complete the installation part, and it's gonna start prepping itself to capture it, which is awesome. Again, this is so awesome because I would say about 95% of this task sequence or this deployment is automated, which is great. The other 5% is basically that we clicked on our task sequence and we clicked to initiate the Pixie boot, and we clicked on or modified the captured path, and that's it. That's 5%, which is awesome. So let's go inside our virtual machine. Right now it's applying the Windows PE, so that means it's actually right here. It's in the capture image node right now, so I'm super excited. Oh, this is so cool. So once it does that, now when I was testing this out beforehand, this is where I received that nasty little warning error that you guys saw. That's I had to do some research, and I found out that you needed to remove your reference image away from internet. Your reference image should not have any internet access. It should only talk to your MDT server, that's what you want. That's what's happening right now. If you establish that connection properly, the deployment is going to work. If you cannot get your reference image to only talk to your WDS but not outside, like have internet access, that's going to be a problem. Again, I'm doing everything in a virtual environment, so I created a private network for all this stuff to work properly. Right now it's executing the SIP prep, which is awesome. I'm super excited. I'm just going to see if I can get inside my virtual machine and move it over. As you can see, it's processing the cleanup phase. Awesome. Oh man, this is so exciting to me. Once that's completed, I think right now we are right here. It's going to apply the Windows PE, the BCD stuff. It's going to restart the machine. Once it restarts the machine, what's going to happen is it's going to start the process of capturing the WIM image. Alright guys, it started creating the WIM image. It's capturing right now. This process takes a long time, so I'm not going to continue running the video for you guys. I do apologize for that. But what I will do is I'm going to go inside my MDT server, and let's go inside our folder. Remember, we dropped it inside this particular folder that I created. I created another partition because I did not want my capture image to be dropped inside this folder, because I always had the fear that the reference image is going to be too big. It's going to be copied over to the C drive, and my MDT server is going to lag on performance, and I don't want that. So I created a partition. And as you saw throughout the video, I told it to go inside this folder, and there goes our WIM image. So awesome. I'm super excited. It's already about 46 kilobytes. I'm assuming it's going to be about 15 gigs on size. Once that's completed, 56. So if I hit right now F5, as you can see, it's growing. Excellent. That is awesome. That is what we want. Again, fully automated. Look how long it's going to take. It's going to take about an hour to complete. And that's it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a long one. I do apologize for that, but it's a lot of details. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Have any questions, leave them at the bottom at the comment section. Don't forget about hitting that like button because it does support the video, as well as this guy. And those thumbs up just basically tells me that you guys enjoy the videos, and just gives me that energy to make more of this stuff. I think on the next video I'm probably going to take our custom WIM image, import it inside MDT server, and then deploy it out and see how good it works. And I catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.